All right. Excited to be back home. Obviously disappointed from Saturday. Haven't had a chance to talk to you guys since the game. But a lot of learning for us. Was proud of the way we fought back. Was not proud of the way we started that game, and neither was our team. So we've had a chance to address that and to move on from it, and now aim our attention at Auburn to have a big game here at home late in the season, playing really meaningful snaps in November, all exciting things. The team is anxious to bounce back, know that we're going to be challenged by a really talented team. Obviously, they've battled through some adversity, and that can go a number of ways. So what we're going to focus on is Vanderbilt football. What we're going to make sure is that we show up with the right attitude, with the right emotional mindset, with the right amount of detail in our game. And we're going to hopefully play our best game this year because we'll play against a really talented team that's well coached. That will if we're going to get the results we're looking for, we're going to have to play really well. So I'm happy to take questions.
Yeah, obviously Auburn made a coaching change this past weekend. What is it like preparing for a team that has just, changed your head coach?
And not a lot changes in terms of you don't believe that there's going to be dramatic shifts in systems. Obviously, the defensive coordinator becomes the head coach. DJ Durkin's been a head coach. He's sat in that seat before. I'm sure defensively that's been a strength of their team, and they'll be excited to play for coach in his new role. Offensively, the staff, stays on. I don't think the system shifts much. I think it's hard to change holistically, when you're mid-season. So I think we're going to see a lot of the same plays. But obviously, we put things on film that, are gonna they're gonna see and they're gonna want to take and apply in their system. So I believe the preparation is going to be, pretty typical. We're not going to go too far in chasing ghosts. We're going to focus on what they put on film, the things that they've shown, how we believe they're going to attack us, and we'll need to put our whole heart in the prep. I think the team probably, plays unburdened from just the cloud that's been hanging over, and maybe they play a little freer. We can't worry about that. Again, what we need to do is show up and play our brand of football and know that will be enough, but it's about having our flames lit. It's about playing with detail, and it's about playing connected. And when we do those things, we're really good. When we don't, we leave it to chance. And what we learned last week is you can't do that for a quarter and a half and expect to win in our league. We're going to need to do it for 4 quarters.
Graham, then Chris.
Yeah, Coach, after the game Saturday, it seems like a lot of people have sort of written you guys off. As a coach, do you prefer to sort of be in this position where you're still very well able to get into the playoffs, but no one's really giving you a chance anymore?
That it doesn't matter to me. I don't really consume anything outside these walls. This is about our team needing to play better, and that team that we showed up with for the first 3 quarters, I don't know how you don't write it off. I mean, we didn't play well, and we didn't play like a team that had something at stake, and I credit Texas with that, but I also challenge our guys to show up and again, play Vanderbilt football. So we don't worry about whatever the perception is externally or whatever those things are. It's just about, how here late in the season do we line up and play a way that we're proud of, knowing that the game honors toughness. And when you play the game the right way, the game rewards you. That's what we're going to focus on this week.
Chris.
Internally, though, you don't have to remind your guys that everything that they still want for the main goal is still in front of them. As long as you guys continue to take care of business, it's still in your hands.
We talk about that, and I think what in the context of not creating additional pressure in this moment, it's like we don't want to hold this too tight. But I told him today, 301 days ago from today, we pulled our bow back and fired an arrow with the intent of being exactly where we are. And here we are, and we're aimed right at the bullseye. And now we need to take that arrow and carry it the rest of the way. And when we frame it that way, it's just this understanding that even in the middle of this, where we're the season can be disorienting. You can lose your way. You can lose yourself in it sometimes. We have been so intentional from January 7th on that there's no reason not to be intentional now. So let's lift above the emotions of the moment. Let's lift above the frustrations of a bad result. Let's lift above external narratives or whatever opinions are out there and say, okay, what is it that we're going to do? What is our level of suffering we'll tolerate? What is the level of sacrifice we'll make to continue this going where we want it to go?
Joey.
A little change of direction. I'm curious about your pregame speeches. Like, how do you prepare for them? What's like your mindset going into them, and how have you developed kind of as a motivator over the years?
Pregame speeches are opportunities for me to connect with the team. We have one typically that's about 3 hours prior to kickoff. That's the one that's most emotional to me. That'll happen in the hotel. And then, we'll have one before we run out. That one is just more about reminders, maybe some last minute feelings I have around the conditions for the game or whatever. But like motivational speeches are overrated, actions, behaviors. When the ball's put down and it kicked off, you got to play the game. But that meeting 3 hours before is a chance for me to connect with my team. That is not overrated. That is something that matters a lot to me. And in that moment, I'm trying to, and I spend time on those remarks. I spend time in preparation for that because I owe that to them. And what I want to do is just talk about what this day means to me. A lot of times these are emotional conversations. Certainly they're energized and charged. And they always end with us, just, embracing each other. Literally, like, we have a time where everyone gives everyone a hug and we talk about what we want to accomplish for the day and we watch a highlight video and we go. But that's a part of our routine, and I do believe I owe it to the team to be ready to try to put some context to the events of the day and make sure they know that I'm emotionally there with them and emotionally ready for my role too.
Chris.
One of the issues in the Texas game was a lot of missed tackles by the defense. It's obviously something you work on every day, every week, whatever, but what do you do differently, to re-emphasize that this week?
So a lot of... Well, first of all, when you play against good opponents, you're going to miss tackles because they're good players. So you have to find the way. Missed tackles are often a product of leverage issues or spatial issues. Those are kind of the two things. So here's how that showed up on Saturday. Leverage issues would be letting the ball run out on a direct line to the sideline. And then while it's there, us leaving our feet to try to down the ball when it's on the sideline. Those are, it's something that we should never do. The first play that goes 75 yards, we don't force the ball to turn back into pursuit, so it runs away from Langston Patterson. So when he leaves his feet, he's not able to down the ball. It gets on the sideline. C.J. Hurd comes out of the post. He leaves his feet while the ball's on the sideline, and next thing you know, they've scored a touchdown. Those are things that have nothing to do with call, have nothing to do with anything other than getting to our technique faster than the opponent. And that's Marlon Sewell compressing the block back on the perimeter, getting the ball level, snatching off to the hip of the ball. That's the ball turning back into Langston, and that's setting up a secondary vice beyond that. So those things we spend a lot of time on, and against good teams, when you don't play the right way, you get exposed. The other thing is the detail of execution. So execution is structure plus intensity. So it's the structure of the defense plus the intensity of the human that's getting to his technique. And they're against a team like Texas, against a team like Auburn, these really skilled opponents. The goal would be, how do we take space as early in the snap as we can? Because if you're closing space as the ball is traveling, you're going to be late. And when you're late, you create open field tackling. And when you create open field tackling, that's advantage offense. So, it really is this simple. Am I aligned in the right place? Are my eyes in the right place? And am I reacting to what I see rather than, kind of like chasing the ball around the field? And so a couple of those that got out on us, we weren't aligned properly. We weren't, seeing the things we need to see to take the space early enough to where an 11-yard gain becomes actually a TFL, and now you got them all scheduled. Now you get in third and longs, you can get off the field, and so those are the things. We have to play within our structure. We have to execute with intensity, but we got to make sure that we're detailed in what we're doing, and we eliminate missed tackles by the elimination of space.
Yeah, Auburn, I guess, the past couple weeks has had somewhat of a quarterback controversy. Just how does that affect the scouting and the preparation? Then what do you see out of both of their quarterbacks that they've been playing?
Both, bless you, first of all, Aria. But both guys capable, at different styles, different pocket styles, different running styles, but not too different where you're needing to go to extremes in terms of preparation. I said this last week. I think there's a real need to understand the skill that surrounds them, and so part of their responsibility is the performance of the other 10 guys on the field. And so defending this offense is certainly about the quarterback. And I don't want to, these guys are they're talented and capable guys, but how are you going to contain 8? How are you going to limit 1? How are you going to structurally defend the run game? Because they got a really good running back there. There's 3 receivers on that field that are among the best that we played. So understanding how their system works, understanding how they're going to create space for those guys, and then, having the right attitude and the right mentality to defend that space. The quarterback is going to play a part in that, but to me, that kind of is the, when you game plan for teams like this, you have to really account for how they're going to facilitate performance in those skill players.
Eli Stowers mentioned a lot about doing stuff that doesn't show up in the box score and maybe having had improved in that way relative to last year. What have you seen from him in terms of blocking and just when the ball is not coming his way?
He's going to be a pro for a reason. He had a huge impact on our game statistically, but I would agree with him. There's a tough physical player who's really his second year in the position, and really improved in ways that make him a complete player. We know what he can do with the ball in his hands. We know his catch radius. We know his athleticism. But he's really built out a kind of a complete package as far as his tight end play. And again, the game rewards guys that do the little things the right way. And I think in that room, that's shown up for him. It's shown up for Cole Spence, so on and so forth. So really proud of him.
Yeah, so last year after the Auburn game, Brian Longwell posted about how he had gotten rejected from Auburn on Christmas a few years ago. How has that kind of motivated him, and what does he really bring to your team?
I'm laughing just because there's so many parts of that about something being posted in a year ago that would lend me not to answer anything. But I appreciate the question because Brian Longwell is such an important part of our program, and we talk about being misfits. We talk about having chips on our shoulder. He's an example of that. He's actually the one that came up with. It was. I think I shared this with you guys. That was last week. But we had these subgroup meetings where everyone's sharing their story, and he says, it's a team of misfits. Well, he represents that in every way. And so that moment for him is about his own personal journey and the frustration he had with the recruiting process. Obviously, that has no bearing on this year or what this game means to us or means to him even. But Brian Longwell's improvement here, his dedication and devotion here. This is a really good football player, and I think he's had a really good year. There's a lot to like about his production, but just his day in day out consistency. he's one of the best I've coached at the second level. So really happy for him for the season he's having. Really glad that he's and grateful he's a part of our program.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.